I've fallen in love with someone else, James. It's time for you to let me go, Linda said, holding her phone with messages from her lover. James calmly nodded. All right, but first, check your bank account. Her face turned pale when she saw a zero balance in a message. You chose him. Now live with nothing. James Carter, a 38-year-old software engineer from Seattle, pulled into the driveway of his suburban home just as the sun dipped below the horizon. His 10-year-old son, Aiden, and 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, were probably already waiting for him to help with their evening routine. Homework, dinner, maybe a quick board game before bed. James lived for these moments. Despite the long hours at his tech firm debugging code, he never missed a chance to be there for his kids. Tonight, though, something felt off. Linda, his wife of 12 years, hadn't texted him all day, which was unusual. Normally, she'd send a quick update about her day or the kids' activities. He shrugged it off, assuming she was caught up with her girls' night again. Inside, the house was quiet, save for the faint sound of Aiden's video game from the living room. James dropped his keys on the counter and called out, "Hey kids, I'm home." Aiden and Sophia rushed in, their faces lighting up. "Dad, can we play Uno tonight?" Sophia asked, tugging at his sleeve. James grinned, ruffling her hair. "After homework, deal?" They nodded eagerly and scampered off to grab their school bags. Linda, however, was nowhere in sight. James checked his phone, no messages. He sent her a quick text, "Home. Where you at?" No reply. Linda, 36, worked part-time as a marketing consultant, which gave her a flexible schedule. Lately, though, her evenings out had become more frequent. Networking, she'd say, or catching up with friends. James trusted her. They'd built a life together, 2 kids, a mortgage, shared dreams of a family trip to Hawaii next summer. He wasn't the type to pry, but tonight, as he helped Aiden with math and read Sophia a bedtime story, a nagging feeling crept in. Linda's car pulled in just past 9 p.m., hours later than usual. She breezed through the door, phone in hand, and gave James a quick peck on the cheek. "Sorry, hon. Got held up at drinks with Sarah," she said, her tone casual, but her eyes avoiding his. James nodded, keeping his expression neutral. "Kids are already in bed. Everything okay?" he asked, watching her closely. Linda waved him off. "Just work stuff. I'm beat. Gonna shower and crash." She headed upstairs, leaving her purse on the kitchen counter. James stared at it for a moment, then turned away. He wasn't the suspicious type, but something about her rushed explanation didn't sit right. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Linda was home less, her excuses growing thinner. One night, she claimed a last-minute client dinner in downtown Seattle, but James noticed her GPS location, shared for safety reasons, pinged at a hotel bar in Bellevue. He didn't confront her. Instead, he started paying attention. As a software engineer, James knew how to dig for answers. He began checking their shared cloud account, where Linda backed up her phone data. What he found wasn't blatant, but it was enough to raise red flags. Late-night text to a contact labeled T, vague messages about meeting up soon, and a few deleted photos that hadn't fully synced. James didn't jump to conclusions. He loved Linda, or at least a version of her he'd married. Funny, ambitious, the woman who'd once planned surprise camping trips for the family. But this Linda felt like a stranger. He decided to play it smart. Instead of a fight, he'd gather evidence. He installed a tracking app on their shared tablet, which Linda often used, and started cross-referencing her calendar with her actual locations. The data painted a clear picture. Her work dinners coincided with visits to upscale restaurants and hotels, places they couldn't afford on her part-time salary. One evening, while Linda was out again, James sat with his laptop in the dim glow of the kitchen. He pulled up their bank statements, something he hadn't checked in months, trusting Linda to handle their joint account. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through the transactions. $200 at a boutique, $500 on a weekend getaway to Portland, $150 at a wine bar. All charges Linda hadn't mentioned. The dates matched her late nights. Worse, some were on a credit card James didn't even know they had. He leaned back, heart pounding, but kept his cool. Anger wouldn't help. He needed a plan. The final straw came on Sophia's 7th birthday. James had spent weeks planning a small party at a local park, Sophia's favorite spot, with a swing set she adored. Linda promised to be there by noon to help set up. Noon came and went. The kids ran around with their friends, balloons bobbing in the breeze, while James checked his phone. Linda texted at 1:30, "Stuck in a meeting, so sorry. Be there soon." She didn't show until 3 p.m., when the cake was already cut. Sophia, oblivious, hugged her mom, but Aiden gave Linda a quiet, disappointed look. James caught it and felt a surge of protectiveness. That night, he hacked into Linda's cloud backups again. Among the files, he found a photo, Linda and a man, laughing at a candlelit table, timestamped during Sophia's party. The man's face was unfamiliar, but the name Trevor in her text was not. James didn't sleep that night. He sat in his home office, piecing it together. Trevor was a co-worker Linda had mentioned casually, a charismatic marketing exec she'd worked with on a campaign. The text, the charges, the photo, it all pointed to an affair. But James wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. He transferred the evidence to a secure drive, organized by date and location. If Linda was betraying their family, he'd make sure she couldn't lie her way out of it. He thought of Aiden's quiet disappointment, Sophia's trusting smile, and his own years of loyalty. Linda thought she was in control, but James was already 3 steps ahead. James Carter kept his routine steady, helping Aiden with science projects and reading bedtime stories to Sophia, but his nights were now spent in a quiet hunt for the truth. The Seattle rain drummed against the windows as he worked, his laptop screen casting a faint glow. Linda's affair with Trevor was no longer a suspicion. It was a fact, backed by a growing file of evidence. James had tracked her movements through GPS data, cross-referenced bank transactions, and saved screenshots of her texts with T. Each piece tightened the knot in his chest, but he stayed focused. Confronting Linda now would tip his hand too soon. He needed to be airtight. Linda, oblivious to James's investigation, grew bolder. She started leaving her phone unlocked on the counter, as if daring him to notice. One night, while she was in the shower, a notification lit up her screen. "Can't wait for tomorrow, babe." Same hotel. The sender was Trevor. James didn't flinch. He snapped a photo of the message, added it to his encrypted folder, and moved on. The next day, Linda claimed she had a client pitch in Bellevue. James nodded, playing the part of the trusting husband. "Have fun," he said, his voice calm, but his mind racing. He checked the GPS app later. She was at the same hotel from the text, not a conference room. The betrayal stung, but James channeled his pain into strategy. He contacted a divorce lawyer, Emily Harper, recommended by a co-worker who'd been through a messy split. Over coffee at a quiet diner, James laid out the situation: Linda's affair, the secret spending, her absence at Sophia's birthday. Emily listened, jotting notes. "You've got a strong case for full custody," she said, scanning the evidence on his tablet. "Washington's in no-fault state, but her neglect of the kids and financial misconduct could sway a judge. Keep documenting dates, times, everything." James nodded, resolute. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was protecting Aiden and Sophia. Back home, Linda's excuses piled up. She missed Aiden's soccer game, claiming a work emergency, but James found a $300 charge at a spa dated that afternoon. Another night, she said she was meeting a client, but her phone's location showed her at a rooftop bar in downtown Seattle. James didn't confront her. Instead, he dug deeper, accessing their shared cloud account to recover deleted messages. One stood out: "Don't worry about James. He's too busy with work to notice anything." Sent to Trevor, it was a gut punch. Linda wasn't just cheating, she was mocking him. James saved it, his jaw tight. The financial betrayal cut deeper. Their joint savings meant for the kids' college funds and that Hawaii trip were dwindling. Linda had opened a new credit card, racking up charges for dinners, hotel stays, and gifts. A $700 watch for Trevor, bought while James was budgeting for Sophia's new school supplies. He met with a forensic accountant who traced every transaction. "She's siphoning funds," the accountant confirmed. "You can use this in court to show reckless spending." James added the report to his growing file, now a digital fortress of proof. Tension at home spiked. Linda barely engaged with the kids, her focus glued to her phone. One evening, Aiden asked, "Why's Mom always gone?" James forced a smile. "She's just busy, bud. Let's focus on your science fair project." But Aiden's frown lingered, and James felt a surge of resolve. He wasn't just gathering evidence for a divorce. He was building a case to shield his kids from a mother who'd checked out. James took a bold step. He hired a private investigator, recommended by Emily. The PI, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, tailed Linda for a week. Her report was damning. Photos of Linda and Trevor at a hotel, holding hands in a parking lot, laughing over drinks at a bar. Carla even caught Trevor leaving his own apartment with another woman on a night Linda was home. James wasn't surprised. Trevor's texts hinted at a player's mentality, but the confirmation fueled his resolve. He forwarded the PI's report to Emily, who began drafting a lawsuit for alienation of affection against Trevor, legal in a few states like North Carolina. James wasn't sure they'd pursue it, but the threat alone could rattle Trevor. The breaking point came during a school event, a parent-teacher night for Sophia. Linda promised to attend, but at 7 p.m., she texted James, "Running late, cover for me?" He didn't reply. Instead, he watched Sophia scan the crowd for her mom, her small face falling when Linda didn't show. James hugged her, whispering, "We've got this, kiddo." Later, he checked Linda's location. She was at a restaurant with Trevor. The next morning, James met with Emily again. "I'm ready," he said. "File for divorce, full custody, and hit Trevor with a lawsuit. I want this done right." Emily nodded. "We'll move fast. With your evidence, Linda won't have a leg to stand on." James felt a strange mix of relief and dread. He wasn't vindictive, but Linda's choices had consequences. That night, as he tucked Sophia in, she asked, "Is Mom mad at us?" James's heart broke. "No, it's with you. Mom's just lost right now. But I'm here always." He kissed her forehead, then went to his office, opening his laptop. The evidence folder was ready. Texts, photos, bank records, GPS logs. Linda thought she was untouchable, but James was about to turn her world upside down. James Carter had spent weeks building an ironclad case against his wife, Linda, whose affair with Trevor had unraveled their family. The Seattle drizzle mirrored the tension in his chest as he finalized his plan with his lawyer, Emily Harper. His evidence, texts, photos, GPS logs, and bank records, was a fortress ready to dismantle Linda's lies. He wasn't driven by anger, but by a fierce need to protect Aiden, 10, and Sophia, 7, from a mother who'd chosen her lover over them. The moment to act had arrived. Linda's behavior grew reckless. She barely hid her late-night texts, often stepping outside to call Trevor while James put the kids to bed. One evening, as James helped Aiden with a math worksheet, Linda announced she was grabbing drinks with a client. James nodded, his face a mask of calm. He knew she was headed to a downtown hotel. Her GPS confirmed it. He saved the data, adding it to his file. The next morning, Linda returned home at 2 a.m., claiming a work event ran late. Aiden, awake for a glass of water, gave her a quiet look before heading back to bed. James saw the hurt in his son's eyes and knew it was time. He chose a Friday evening, after the kids were at a sleepover with their cousins in Tacoma. Linda came home at 8 p.m., phone in hand, humming as if nothing was wrong. James sat at the kitchen table, a manila folder in front of him. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady. Linda froze, sensing the shift. "What's this about?" she asked, sitting across from him, her tone defensive. James slid the folder forward. "Open it." Linda's hands hesitated before flipping it open. Her eyes scanned the contents. Printed text between her and Trevor, photos of them at hotels, bank statements highlighting her secret spending. $1, $200 on a weekend trip, $400 on a necklace for Trevor. Her face paled as she flipped through pages, each one a nail in her coffin. "You've been spying on me?" she snapped, her voice rising. James leaned forward, unflinching. "You've been lying to me. To our kids. You missed Sophia's birthday, Aiden's games. You spent our savings on him." Linda's defiance crumbled. "It's not what you think," she stammered. "Trevor and it's complicated." James cut her off. "It's simple. You chose him over us. I'm filing for divorce, Linda. I want full custody of the kids." Her eyes widened, and she laughed nervously. "You can't take them from me. I'm their mother." James opened his laptop, pulling up a video from the private investigator. Linda and Trevor kissing in a car, time-stamped during Sophia's parent-teacher night. "The court will decide who's fit," he said coldly. The room fell silent. Linda's hands shook as she pushed the folder away. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she tried, but her voice lacked conviction. James didn't waver. "There's more. I'm suing Trevor for alienation of affection. My lawyer's already drafting the papers. North Carolina law applies since he travels there for work." Linda's jaw dropped. "You're bluffing." James stood, his voice like steel. "Check your bank account. I froze our joint funds this morning. You're cut off." Linda grabbed her phone, frantically logging into their banking app. Her screen showed a zero balance in their shared account, with a pending transfer to a new one in James's name. "You can't do this," she shouted, standing up. James didn't flinch. "Already did. You'll get divorce papers next week. Pack a bag. You're not staying here tonight." Linda's eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but James's calm resolve was unshakable. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door. James didn't celebrate. He called his sister, Claire, in Portland, arranging for the kids to stay with her for a few days. Then he emailed Emily, confirming the next steps: file for divorce, request full custody, and serve Trevor with the lawsuit. Emily replied within minutes. "Papers are ready. We'll move Monday." James exhaled, feeling the weight of his decision. He wasn't just ending a marriage. He was reclaiming his kids' future. By Sunday, Linda tried calling, but James let it go to voicemail. Her messages were a mix of apologies and accusations. "You're ruining everything, James. Let's talk." He didn't respond. Instead, he packed bags for himself and the kids, moving them to Claire's house. When he told Aiden and Sophia they'd be staying with Aunt Claire, Aiden asked, "Is Mom coming too?" James knelt, meeting his son's eyes. "Not right now, bud, but we're going to be okay." Sophia hugged him tightly, and James held her, vowing to shield them from the fallout. Linda, meanwhile, checked into a cheap motel. Her credit cards declined. She called Trevor, expecting support, but he was evasive, claiming he was busy with work. Her world was unraveling, and she had no one to turn to. James, back at Claire's, sat with his laptop, reviewing the legal documents. The evidence was overwhelming: Linda's neglect, her spending, her affair. He wasn't seeking revenge. He was seeking justice. But as he closed his laptop, a text from an unknown number popped up. "You're making a mistake, James. Back off." It was Trevor. James smirked, saving the message. Another piece of evidence, another misstep by his opponents. The battle was just beginning. James Carter had set the wheels in motion, and the legal machine was now churning. With Linda out of the house and the kids safely at his sister Claire's in Portland, he focused on the next steps. The Seattle air felt lighter, as if the truth had cleared the haze of Linda's lies. His lawyer, Emily Harper, filed the divorce papers, requesting full custody of Aiden and Sophia based on Linda's documented neglect and financial misconduct. The alienation of affection lawsuit against Trevor was also in play, leveraging his business trips to North Carolina, where such claims were legally viable. James's evidence, texts, photos, GPS logs, and bank records, was a bulletproof arsenal ready to secure his family's future. Linda, meanwhile, was spiraling. Holed up in a budget motel on the outskirts of Seattle, she faced the harsh reality of her frozen bank accounts. Her calls to Trevor went unanswered, his responses growing colder with each text. Busy with a project. Talk later, he'd write, leaving her to stew in isolation. She tried logging into their joint cloud account to delete incriminating messages, but James had changed the passwords. Panic set in as she realized the depth of his preparation. She left voicemails for James, pleading for a chance to explain, but he didn't respond. Her world, once propped up by lies and lavish spending, was collapsing. The court moved swiftly. Emily presented James's evidence in an initial hearing. Photos of Linda with Trevor during family events, bank statements showing thousands drained on gifts and trips, and texts mocking James's trust. The judge, unimpressed by Linda's vague denials, granted James temporary full custody pending the final ruling. Linda was allowed supervised visits with Aiden and Sophia, but her absence at key moments, Sophia's birthday, Aiden's soccer games, painted her as an unfit parent. The court also froze her access to remaining joint assets, leaving her with only her part-time income. Trevor faced his own reckoning. Served with the alienation of affection lawsuit, he panicked. The claim detailed his knowledge of Linda's marriage and his role in its destruction, backed by messages where he dismissed James as clueless. Facing a potential six-figure settlement and public humiliation, Trevor's lawyer pushed for a quick deal. He agreed to pay James $50,000 to drop the suit, wiring the funds within days. But the victory was hollow for Linda. Trevor cut contact, ghosting her after the settlement. She called him repeatedly, only to find his number disconnected. The man she'd risked everything for had vanished, leaving her to face the wreckage alone. Linda's social circle crumbled. Word of the divorce spread through their Seattle suburb, fueled by whispers of her affair. Former friends, who once admired her charm, now avoided her calls. At a grocery store, she overheard two neighbors gossiping about that woman who threw it all away for some guy. Humiliated, she moved to a cramped apartment in Renton, scraping by on her dwindling savings. She tried reaching out to Aiden and Sophia, but their supervised visits were tense. Aiden barely spoke, and Sophia clung to James's sister, Claire, during one meeting. Linda's attempts at apologies fell flat. Her kids, hurt by her absence, kept their distance. James, meanwhile, focused on stability. He took a week off work to settle Aiden and Sophia at Claire's, enrolling them in a Portland school temporarily. He drove them to soccer practice, helped with homework, and answered their questions about Linda with honesty but care. Mom made some bad choices, he told Aiden one night. But we're going to build something better. Aiden nodded, squeezing his dad's hand. James also met with his forensic accountant, who uncovered more of Linda's spending. $2,000 on a weekend in Vegas with Trevor, charged while James was paying for Sophia's dental visit. The evidence strengthened his case, ensuring Linda would face financial accountability. The divorce proceedings intensified. Emily submitted a detailed motion, citing Linda's neglect and reckless spending as ground for James to receive the family home and primary assets. Linda's lawyer argued she deserved shared custody, but the judge wasn't swayed. Her documented absence from key family moments was damning. A court-ordered audit revealed Linda had siphoned $15,000 from their savings over 6 months, further tilting the scales. James remained stoic in court, his focus on Aiden and Sophia's well-being. He didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The truth was doing the work. Linda, desperate, tried one last move. She showed up at Claire's house, begging to see the kids. Claire, protective and firm, blocked the door. "You talk to James's lawyer," she said, shutting Linda out. Defeated, Linda left, her car's taillights fading into the Portland rain. Back at her apartment, she scrolled through old photos of her family, the weight of her choices crushing her. She'd traded her kids' trust and a stable life for a fleeting affair, and now she had nothing. James, back in Seattle, prepared for the final hearing. Emily warned him Linda might try to drag things out, but the evidence was overwhelming. As he tucked Sophia in at Claire's, she asked, "Are we going to be okay, Dad?" James smiled, brushing her hair back. "Better than okay, kiddo. I promise." His phone buzzed, a job offer from a San Diego tech firm, with a higher salary and relocation package. It was a chance for a fresh start, far from the chaos Linda had left behind. James didn't hesitate. He accepted, ready to close this chapter and build a new life for his kids. James Carter stood on the cusp of a new life. The divorce was finalized, granting him full custody of Aiden and Sophia, along with the family home and most assets. The Seattle court had ruled decisively, swayed by the mountain of evidence. Linda's affair with Trevor, her neglect of the kids, and her reckless spending of $15,000 from their savings. The alienation of affection lawsuit against Trevor had forced a $50,000 settlement, which James set aside for Aiden and Sophia's college funds. With the legal battles behind him, James prepared to relocate to San Diego, where a new job at a tech firm promised a fresh start. He packed up the kids' belongings, keeping only what mattered, ready to leave the pain of Linda's betrayal in the rearview. Linda, meanwhile, was adrift in Renton, her life a shadow of what it once was. Her cramped apartment, paid for with her dwindling part-time income, felt like a cage. Trevor had ghosted her completely after settling James's lawsuit, moving on to another affair with no backward glance. Linda's attempts to reconnect with Aiden and Sophia during supervised visits were met with cold distance. Aiden answered her questions with one-word responses, and Sophia clung to Claire, James's sister, as if she were her mother. Linda's calls to old friends went unanswered. Her reputation in their Seattle suburb was tarnished, the gossip branding her as the woman who threw away her family. She scrolled through social media late at night, seeing photos of happier times, each one a reminder of what she'd lost. James focused on his kids. He drove Aiden to soccer practice and helped Sophia with her art projects, keeping their routines steady despite the upheaval. The San Diego move was a calculated step. James had consulted his lawyer, Emily Harper, to ensure compliance with the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act. With sole custody granted, He had full legal rights to relocate with the kids. Passports, school transfers, and visas were secured, and by late summer, they boarded a plane to California. Aiden, ever observant, asked, "Will Mom ever come back?" James answered honestly, "She made her choices, bud. We're building something new now." Sophia, clutching her stuffed bunny, nodded, trusting her dad's calm certainty. In San Diego, James threw himself into his new role at the tech firm, leading a team on cutting-edge software projects. The kids adjusted quickly, enrolling in a local school with a strong soccer program for Aiden and an art club for Sophia. James made time for them every evening, cooking dinners or exploring the city's beaches. At a school fundraiser, he met Emily, a 35-year-old teacher who volunteered at the event. She was patient, with a knack for making Sophia laugh and engaging Aiden in conversations about science. Their chats started casually, parenting tips, school schedules, but grew into coffee dates. Emily didn't push James to open up about his past, and he appreciated her quiet strength. The kids warmed to her, especially Sophia, who started showing her drawings to Miss Emily with pride. Linda's life continued to unravel. With no savings and mounting debts from her affairs expenses, she sold her car to cover rent. She took a second job as a receptionist, but the long hours left her drained. A final attempt to contact James came via a letter, begging for a chance to see the kids unsupervised. James, advised by Emily Harper, declined. The court had clear evidence of Linda's neglect. Any change in custody would require her to prove stability, which she couldn't. Linda's letter went unanswered, and she stopped trying, sinking into resignation. 2 years later, James's life in San Diego was thriving. He and Emily, now engaged, had built a home filled with warmth. Aiden joined the varsity soccer team, and Sophia's artwork won a school award. Emily became a steady presence, helping with homework and cheering at games, never trying to replace Linda, but earning the kids' trust. James proposed during a beach picnic, and Emily's simple yes sealed their future. Their wedding was small, just the kids and a few friends, but it felt like a triumph, a family rebuilt on honesty and care. The past resurfaced unexpectedly during a family trip to a Seattle mall, visiting Claire. As James, Emily, and the kids laughed over ice cream, Linda appeared, standing alone near a store. She froze, recognizing them. Aiden and Sophia, now 12 and 9, glanced at her but moved closer to Emily, hugging her tightly. Linda stepped forward, her voice shaky. "Can we talk?" she asked. James met her gaze, calm but firm, and shook his head. No words were needed. His stance said everything. He took Emily's hand, and they walked away, the kids chattering happily. Linda stood rooted, watching the family she'd lost disappear into the crowd. The weight of her choices settled fully, a final, silent verdict. James and his family returned to San Diego, their lives untouched by the encounter. Aiden and Sophia thrived, their bond with Emily growing stronger. James, once shattered by betrayal, found peace in a home built on trust. Linda, left behind, faced a future shaped by her actions, a lesson in consequences that no apology could undo.